I'm Rena Shoshana Forrester, the founder of Karuna Yoga. And first and foremost, thank you to Lisa, Dana, and Shelby for all that you've done to organize this event. And thank you to each of you for being here. I'm so touched, and it truly makes a difference for the Karuna Yoga students. Thank you from me and on behalf of the students. I grew up in Chicago and made Aliyah 6.5 years ago. My greatest passion is teaching others the scientifically proven healing modalities like yoga that have worked for me. I bring ancient healing modalities into modern wellness practices. I believe that as people heal, their healing has a ripple effect on the whole world. I believe that this process of internal healing and spreading the ripple effects is how our world has any chance at truly becoming peaceful and harmonious. My healing work goes deeper than my teaching. It's ingrained in how I conduct business. At the start of the war, with literally negative money in the bank and no additional income, I launched a nonprofit, which thank God has been successful. The idea for my nonprofit came amidst much frustration. Without getting too into the details, as it's a whole story in itself, on October 14th, I found myself in Vietnam. It's important that you know that I lived in Vietnam for 1 year before making Aliyah. Long story short, I believe God sent me there on a mission to close out a serious personal trauma cycle. The first step was fully accepting that there I was, divorced, no work, no income in Vietnam, and the country I've come to call home was and still is at war. I've become all too familiar with the feeling of needing to build myself up and was frustrated to be at that point once more. I chose to fully feel the frustration, believing that on the other side I'd find clarity, and I did. As I sat with the frustration, I contemplated how to get back to feeling grounded, secure, stable, and forward-moving purposefully and quickly. This brought me to the second step, accepting the call to get back to my life in Israel. I've got lovely friends, dear vegetable growers, and my own growing plants. But more than anything, the synchronicity between the Jewish calendar and Israel's agricultural calendar offers me a strong sense of grounding. The third step was getting clear about what I would do for work and how I would earn money. I reflected on the weight of the trauma that my fellow citizens had just endured. I felt grateful and blessed to be able to get to Vietnam and safely process the shock of October 7th, a privilege most other Israelis didn't have. I felt called to help them. How can I best meet people where they're at, I asked myself. Integrative health and nutrition coaching could work, but so many people don't even understand what that means, and I don't want to end up needing to convince people of the importance of my work. Education could be it. I've got 2 bachelors in education, but the high-paced, high-stress school environment is a big no for me. Yoga! Yoga it is! I'm qualified and experienced, and people generally understand that yoga is a helpful tool. I started having conversations with people about my idea to teach yoga to trauma survivors in Israel, and was met with excitement and encouragement. It was time to get clear on a business model. In reflecting on my prior 6 years of teaching yoga, I recalled money being the major block to people committing to practicing with me regularly. If I was going to offer yoga classes as a tool for healing trauma to a population that was going through the most serious collective trauma in recent history, then I needed to make those tools as accessible as possible to them. I decided to remove money as a block from their ability to access the healing tools of yoga, but was determined to be compensated for my work so that I could carry on sustainably. In response to my online American-based Jewish yoga students expressing a desire to support on-the-ground initiatives in Israel financially, I launched a fundraising campaign to sponsor my students. Thanks to them and thanks to you, my current students will continue to learn sustainably, and I may even be able to open some new classes. All of my classes are personalized once a week for 6 months. And up until this point, all of my students have been children and wives of soldiers. I have a number of students waitlisted for when I have enough funds to open new classes. These incoming students include a captain in an elite intelligence unit, his children, and another group of children from an army family. But it was never about the money for me. It was always about positively impacting people's lives. Thank God I've received positive feedback from all of my students since our first lessons. The mother of a 4-year-old boy expressed Rena's yoga classes have provided a much-needed outlet for our child to relax, unwind, and find inner peace amidst the uncertainty and stress of his father's deployment, allowing him to cope with the separation and maintain a positive mindset. A mother of 3 kids I teach shared, since my children began working with Rena, they take deep inhales and exhales and practice what they learn with Rena at home. Thank you for giving the kids the opportunity to relax and connect to their bodies in a developmentally appropriate way. One woman, the wife of a soldier, shared, since starting to work with Rena, I have noticed that I am more focused and breathing deeper. And a different soldier's wife expressed, since starting to work with Rena, I am more aware of my body and my own ability to help my body when in pain. The greatest feedback of all came in February, 4 months into Karuna Yoga, when I received confirmation beyond positive feedback that my work is positively impacting people's lives. One of my students is a 10-year-old girl. Her father served in Gaza, and for a couple weeks, every day he was told he would be going home that night. And day after day, his family excitedly awaited his return. In the thick of this heartbreaking situation, in a moment of helpless despair, my student sat down in her bedroom and meditated. Her mom couldn't find her until she found her like that. What's most amazing about this anecdote is that I didn't explicitly teach her the meditation she was practicing. She heard it in a song I played when she was completing a yoga obstacle course, and she found it on Spotify. We rarely know the impact we have on others. The moment that my student looked me in the eyes and told me this story, eyes gleaming, heart open, I felt so incredibly privileged to look her back in the eyes and say, that's why I'm doing this. This is my little way of doing Tikkun Olam. Today we have a global community, a globalized world, and services, health services, healing services have evolved to meet the needs of these changes. We, humanity, can give and meet the needs of people all around the world. There are so many people out there who need healing tools but are not able to access them for financial reasons, and there are so many people, just like yourselves, who have financial means and understand the power of healing, the healing modalities that I teach, and have a desire to also do Tikkun Olam. So thank you for showing up and doing your little part. It has a big impact. You can find me, if you want to email me, rena@renashoshana.com, or my website is renashoshana.com, and at the bottom is all of my social media. There's also a contact page. Feel free to be in touch with any questions or feedback or relevant remarks. And before I say goodbye, I just want us to set an intention for the rest of our time here together. What I read to you all, my mom is a conservative rabbi in Madison, Wisconsin, and I was home with my family for the beginning of Pesach, and I gave a sermon at her synagogue, and this was a piece of my sermon. And part of the sermon was speaking about how when we do our own inner healing work, we're kind of becoming our own Mashiach, our own Messiah. So before I say goodbye, let's set an intention to become our own Mashiach and feel into the word, intention, or prayer that you want to embody and spread out into the world. Really feel it, whatever word, prayer, or intention comes to mind. You can rub it between your hands. And when you feel the warmth of your hands, release them over your eyes. Fill yourself up on the inside with the quality of this word, prayer, or intention as if it already is. And then sweep your hands over your head, behind your neck, back together at your heart, and you can bring them back down. Thank you again to Lisa, Dana, and Shelby, and all of you for showing up. I hope to hear from some of you, and enjoy. Chag Sameach. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rena. I want to see if anybody has any questions for her before we move on with our afternoons. Anybody have